before we get started with our next tarot card video, I wanted to try out this thing that my husband got me. I don't know if you can read that. They're incense matches. I'd seen them before at like head shops and stuff like that, but I'd never gotten them or tried them out. The scent on this one is Goddess of Egypt. He knows me so well. So, to burn them, it says that you should put them in an ashtray to burn. I don't have an ashtray, so instead we're going to be using that thing. I think it's called a censer. Maybe. I'm not entirely sure on that. But I've had it for I think 20 years. It's made of brass. And the top, the lid, has a little hole in the top so you can stick incense in it. And then in this part, you can use it for cone incense, but a lot of times I'll put a charcoal in it and burn loose incense. Although, because it is brass, if it's burning for a long time, the handle does tend to get a little hot. But I don't ever move it. Like I said, I've had it for about 20 years. So the base has all sorts of junk on it, like dust and candle wax and incense ashes, you name it. I just let it build up. I mean, I don't see the reason in cleaning it. It's just gonna get dirty again. I know that's a horrible philosophy to have, but when it's something like this, I mean, who cares? So let's try these out. There's this gold foil wrapped around them. And they're just like regular matches in here. So let's pull one off. As you can see, I've burned a few in here. They don't always burn well. Sometimes they go out halfway through. like the way it smells. It's like frankincense and myrrh with maybe a little bit of jasmine or something sweet in it. Frankincense and myrrh is my go-to incense. Every year we go to the Renaissance Festival here in Texas, and there's a vendor every year in the same spot, and they sell stones and crystals and incense and sorts of stuff like that. And I always make it a point to go there and buy a big pack of their frankincense and myrrh incense. I mean, I could get it other places, but it's kind of like a little tradition that I have. This one's burning pretty good. I'm kind of surprised. The other reason I like these is because maybe sometimes you don't want to burn a whole incense, especially if you're in a smaller space. It can be overwhelming. So I feel like for smaller rooms, this is just right. There's not much wind tonight, so I doubt we will hear the wind chimes, but that's okay. So while it's burning, so to recap, last time we talked about cards numbers 1 and 2 of the major arcana. The magician and the high priestess. The magician and high priestess are like the subconscious and conscious parts of our universe, of our world. The magician is a master at manifesting on the physical plane, whereas the high priestess is all about the mysteries of the subconscious. So, the next cards, the next two characters that the Fool comes across, and I really wouldn't call the magician and high priestess characters. They more so represent aspects of the Fool's universe. These two cards, though, definitely represent like characters. As with ourselves, when we are born, when we're babies, the first person that we are introduced to in life is our mother. The Empress. She represents nurturing, but not just nurturing as far as like, physical nurturing, but also in the way of nature, how Mother Nature nurtures us. She wears a crown of 12 stars that represent each month of the year. The Empress also represents abundance, fertility. She is, of the major arcana, the mother card. And so the Fool is introduced to his mother. And from her he learns about caring, nurturing, but also his senses, the five senses, and about the world around him, Mother Nature, how it nurtures him. So, the next character we meet, the next person, is our father, the Emperor. The Emperor teaches the Fool, but us as well, because in the Fool's journey, it's sort of like our journey. So we are experiencing, or we experience everything the Fool experiences at some point. So the next person the Fool comes across is his father, the Emperor. The Emperor represents rules, structure, authority, power, but not in not in like a mean kind of sense. He is a father, so he is also caring. The Fool learns that within this world, it's not just whatever he says goes or whatever he wants to do happens, that there are rules that he must abide by. There's a structure to the world around him that he has to follow. But in knowing these rules and this structure of the world, it almost kind of gives him freedom, because he now knows the limits to which he is allowed to do everything. So, when looking at the cards, the Emperor sits on a throne of rams, which represents Aries. He holds an ankh in one hand and a globe in the other, the globe representing his dominion. He also wears armor to show that he is strong against things such as emotional reactions. Typically in tarot cards, at least the Rider-Waite system, water represents emotions, and there is not a drop of water to be found on the Emperor card. In fact, it's almost a fire type of card. On the dragon deck, see if you can see this. There we go. In the bottom corners is the symbol for Aries. On his throne on the left side, there's the rune for the sun and Fehu. The rune Fehu literally means cattle, but it's used to represent abundance. The Hanson Roberts deck here in the middle. This Emperor looks like Caesar. He has like a crown of laurels or something around his head. This Emperor looks a bit older. A beard like that in tarot would represent wisdom. So let's go back to the Empress card. This Empress has a whole bunch of golden wheat before showing her abundance. And she is wearing a robe covered in pomegranates, symbol for fertility. She even has a little heart pillow with the symbol for Venus on it. She's surrounded by nature, including, as you can see there in the background, a little stream. This Empress can't really see the pomegranates on her robe, maybe on the sleeves, but she does have the wheat and the crown of stars. Don't mind the knocking, that's just my ghost. So, this Empress card, very motherly. In fact, she is cradling a newborn baby dragon. You can see the shell on the ground there. He just hatched. And in the bottom right, the symbol for Venus. In the bottom left, the 5-pointed star to represent the elements. So, when you pull these cards in a reading, whether for yourself or someone else, they don't necessarily represent your mother and your father. They could also represent an aspect in which you are currently acting, such as in a motherly role or a fatherly role. Yes, even women can assume a fatherly role, such as being, the rock of the family, the supporter for everybody, the breadwinner, even though that's that's an outdated notion. So, they could represent, right, either you, or depending on where in the layout they fall, if they fall in the spread, if they fall under somebody close to you, an immediate influence, then it may not necessarily mean your mother or father. Could also mean a relative or a friend that acts in a motherly or fatherly aspect. But they do also represent, the Empress is definitely a fertility, abundance, and feminine creativity card. So when you draw the Empress, maybe it's time to learn something new, learn how to knit, learn how to give massage, go get your nails done, go to a spa, learn how to paint, something creative, relaxing, of the feminine aspect. The Emperor would be more along the lines of step up to a position of authority and power, just because he is the authoritarian does not mean he is strict or cruel or mean in any way. A father can definitely still be caring, but also the one who enforces the rules. In fact, in some ways, the fact that he is enforcing rules could be a sign that he cares, especially if those rules keep you safe. So, I hope you guys liked the Emperor and the Empress. Next time, we will see who the Fool runs into. But before we go, I'm going to light one more of those incense matches. I really like them. I think it's like a great idea. Whoever invented them, I could see that when that idea struck them, it was probably like this, lightning bolt. Like, combining two things into one. Because you have to use fire to light incense, so why not use an instrument that you're going to light the incense with and combine it with the incense? I might have to get more of these. There's that little pop again. There we go. So, I hope everyone has a good weekend, and you get to relax, and I hope tonight you get to fall asleep easily, and that you wake up well rested